The tension between Iran and Israel has once again taken center stage in global headlines, and this time the focus is on Lod, a city with deep historical, political, and strategic significance. The question that has quickly emerged is why this specific city was chosen as the latest target in the escalating conflict. To understand the answer, one must first look at the larger geopolitical picture and the long-standing rivalry between these two regional powers. For decades, Israel and Iran have been locked in a struggle that combines military, ideological, and diplomatic dimensions, and each flare-up of violence is rarely a spontaneous act. Instead, it is shaped by years of planning, symbolic messaging, and careful target selection. Lod represents much more than just another city on the map. It is a place where geography, history, and demography intersect, making it a focal point for both sides in a battle that extends beyond the physical realm into the political and psychological domains. Lod is not Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, yet it sits at the heart of Israel's central district, adjacent to Ben Gurion International Airport, the country's main international gateway. The proximity of Lod to such a vital piece of infrastructure automatically elevates its significance. Targeting LOD sends a signal that Israel's lifelines, including its air connectivity to the world, are vulnerable. At the same time, Lod is a mixed city, home to both Jewish and Arab residents, which means that an attack or even the threat of an attack there has the potential to stir up internal tensions within Israel. This dual nature, strategic infrastructure combined with a sensitive demographic balance, makes Lod a unique pressure point in Israel's national security architecture. Iran's decision to highlight Lod as a target, directly or through its allied groups, appears to be a calculated move to strike at both Israel's external strength and its internal cohesion. In recent years, Lod has already been a flashpoint for clashes, particularly during the conflict of May 2021, when intercommunal violence erupted alongside the Gaza war. Those events exposed how fragile coexistence in the city could be, and how quickly local tensions could spiral into broader unrest. For Israel's adversaries, this fragility is an opportunity. By putting Lod in the spotlight, Iran, or groups aligned with it, are not just threatening physical damage. They are attempting to reopen wounds of mistrust and division that still linger in the community. For Israel's leadership, any threat to Lod must therefore be handled with extra caution, as it is about protecting both security and social stability. For Tehran, raising the specter of Lod carries multiple layers of symbolism. It challenges Israel on the military front, pressures its economy by threatening its aviation hub, and tests its social fabric by stoking communal sensitivities. Iran's strategy in its confrontation with Israel has often been described as asymmetric. Rather than engaging in direct large-scale battles with the Israeli military, Tehran relies on proxy groups, missile capabilities, cyber operations, and symbolic strikes to project power. Lod fits perfectly into this playbook. It is not the most fortified or heavily defended city in Israel, unlike Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, but it sits in a location where even the perception of vulnerability can have outsized effects. A rocket that lands near Ben Gurion Airport can disrupt flights, rattle investors, and dominate international headlines. A strike on residential neighborhoods in Lod can ignite domestic unrest, drawing global media attention to Israel's internal divisions. For Iran, such outcomes can be achieved with relatively limited investment, while forcing Israel to stretch its defenses thin and react in multiple directions. The psychological impact of choosing Lod is also profound. For many Israelis, Lod is a city they pass through regularly on their way to or from the airport. It is a gateway that connects Israel to the world. Threatening this space introduces a sense of insecurity that resonates beyond the battlefield. It reminds citizens that no part of the country is truly beyond the reach of Iran or its allies. The choice of Lod also carries historical undertones. The city has ancient roots tracing back thousands of years and has often stood at the crossroads of empires, religions, and peoples. By designating Lod as a target, Iran taps into a narrative of struggle over land and identity that goes beyond contemporary politics, evoking a deeper sense of contest over heritage and legitimacy. Internationally, the focus on Lod has drawn reactions from governments and observers, who see in this move a dangerous escalation. For Western countries allied with Israel, particularly the United States and European states, any threat to Ben Gurion Airport or its surrounding areas is a red line. Air travel disruptions in Israel can have ripple effects on global aviation, tourism, and business, and they highlight how quickly a localized conflict can produce international consequences. For Iran, this is part of the point. By choosing Lod, the Iranian leadership is ensuring that its message does not remain confined to Israeli borders. It wants the world to see that Israel's vulnerability is real and that Tehran has the ability to create uncertainty far beyond the battlefield. For regional actors, particularly Arab governments that have normalized relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords, the focus on Lod raises uncomfortable questions about stability and security in the region. These countries must weigh their own national interests against the optics of being tied to Israel at a time when Iran is demonstrating its ability to cause disruption. The military dimension of targeting Lod cannot be ignored either. Israel's defense systems, most famously the Iron Dome, are designed to intercept rockets and missiles aimed at populated areas. However, the closer a target is to critical infrastructure like an airport, the higher the stakes. Even if rockets are intercepted, the fact that they were aimed in such a direction forces Israel to activate its defenses and demonstrate resilience. Each interception costs money, depletes resources, and contributes to the war of attrition that Iran and its allies hope to wage. For the Israeli Defense Forces, the challenge is not only to neutralize threats, but to reassure the public and international community that the country remains secure. The choice of Lod tests Israel's capacity to maintain that reassurance under pressure. Beyond the immediate security concerns, Lod also represents a stage for the broader ideological confrontation between Iran and Israel. For Iran, the conflict with Israel is not merely a territorial dispute. It is framed as a struggle for the heart of the Muslim world and resistance against Western influence. Highlighting Lod allows Iran to present itself as striking at the core of the Israeli state, near its main international airport and at a site where Arab citizens also reside. This reinforces Tehran's messaging that it stands not only against the Israeli government, but also in solidarity with Palestinians and Arabs who feel marginalized within Israel. Whether or not this resonates broadly is another matter. But in the realm of propaganda, perception can often matter as much as reality. Israel, for its part, understands this dynamic, which is why it treats threats to Lod with utmost seriousness and frames them as attacks not only on its citizens, but also on international stability. The role of proxies is crucial in this discussion. Iran rarely acts alone in its confrontation with Israel, preferring instead to operate through groups such as Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, or militias in Syria and Iraq. The focus on Lod may well be part of a strategy coordinated through these actors. For example, a rocket launched from Gaza toward Lod carries Iran's fingerprints, even if Tehran did not fire it directly. Similarly, threats from Hezbollah about targeting central Israel serve Iranian objectives by demonstrating reach and resilience. This layered approach complicates Israel's response. If Tel Aviv decides to retaliate directly against Iran, it risks sparking a larger war. If it retaliates only against proxies, it risks appearing ineffective. Lod, therefore, becomes a test case for how Israel manages this balance, projecting strength without escalating into full-scale regional war. The economic implications of focusing on Lod are also significant. Israel's economy is deeply connected to global markets, and Ben Gurion Airport is a critical node in that system. Any disruption to flights can affect tourism, trade, and foreign investment. For Israel's adversaries, even the threat of such disruption is a victory. Airlines may consider rerouting or suspending flights, insurance costs may rise, and business confidence may waver. These indirect effects amplify the impact of military action and are part of the asymmetric strategy that Iran employs. Targeting Lod is not just about firing a rocket. It is about casting a shadow of uncertainty over Israel's economic stability and international connectivity. In this sense, Lod is as much an economic target as it is a military one. Inside Israel, the government faces the challenge of managing public perception. Israelis are accustomed to living under threat, but the choice of Lod as a target strikes a particularly sensitive chord. It forces ordinary citizens to reconsider their sense of security in everyday routines. For families living in Lod, the fear is immediate. For those traveling through Ben Gurion Airport, the fear is more symbolic but no less real. The government must balance transparency with reassurance, ensuring that people are informed without inducing panic. Prime Minister and security officials have repeatedly emphasized that Israel is prepared for any scenario and that defenses are robust. Yet the very need for such reassurances underscores how successful Iran has been in shaping the psychological landscape of the conflict by focusing on Lod. Another dimension to consider is the long-term strategic messaging. Iran's choice of Lod is not just about the present confrontation. It is about signaling its capacity for future actions. By demonstrating that it can make Israel's central district a focal point of concern, Tehran is effectively saying that no part of Israel is beyond its reach. This is particularly important for Iran as it seeks to deter Israel from striking its nuclear program or other strategic assets. By raising the cost of conflict for Israel, socially, economically, and militarily, Iran hopes to create a deterrence dynamic of its own. Lod thus becomes both a tactical target in the current escalation and a strategic symbol in the broader standoff over Iran's regional ambitions and nuclear program. For Israel's allies, particularly the United States, the situation presents a dilemma. Washington has long supported Israel's right to self-defense, but it is also wary of being dragged into a wider regional war. The focus on Lod complicates this because any disruption at Ben Gurion Airport could directly affect American citizens and businesses. The U.S. must therefore calibrate its response carefully, offering support to Israel while urging restraint. European governments face a similar challenge. They are invested in stability in the Middle East, but they are also mindful of the economic and security repercussions that an escalation could bring. The fact that Lod was chosen as a target ensures that international actors cannot remain passive observers. The symbolism of striking so close to Israel's international gateway demands a reaction, even if it is diplomatic rather than military. As the conflict unfolds, one must also consider the role of media and narrative. Iran's decision to highlight Lod ensures maximum media coverage. Images of rockets near an international airport, reports of tensions in a mixed city, and discussions about disrupted flights are guaranteed to dominate headlines. For Tehran, this is part of the battle. It wants to control the narrative, to show that Israel is vulnerable, and to project itself as a regional power capable of challenging the status quo. Israel, conversely, must counter this narrative by emphasizing resilience, effective defenses, and unity. The battle for Lod is therefore not only on the ground, but also in the realm of perception, where each side seeks to claim victory in the eyes of domestic and international audiences. Looking ahead, the focus on Lod raises important questions about the trajectory of the conflict. Will this city become a recurring symbol in the Iran-Israel rivalry, much like Jerusalem has been in the broader Arab-Israeli conflict? Will Iran's strategy of targeting sensitive but not central sites push Israel into recalibrating its defense priorities? And most importantly, will the international community find ways to de-escalate the situation before Lod, or cities like it, become flashpoints for a broader regional war? The answers remain uncertain, but what is clear is that Lod has become a stage on which the next chapter of this long rivalry is being written. The choice of Lod as a target is not random. It is a reflection of strategic thinking, symbolic messaging, and psychological warfare. For Iran, it is an opportunity to demonstrate reach, test Israel's defenses, and sow division. For Israel, it is a challenge to prove resilience, maintain unity, and reassure both citizens and allies. For the international community, it is a reminder of how localized conflicts in the Middle East can quickly produce global consequences. As events continue to unfold, Lod will remain at the center of attention, not just as a city under threat, but as a symbol of the complex and multifaceted struggle between Iran and Israel, a struggle that is far from reaching its conclusion.